Hello everyone, my name is Tim Gillespie. I'm a member of Westport's Community Preservation Committee. And the committee wanted to put a program together to share with Westport residents something about the Community Preservation Act and what it's done in Westport and what it can do. And just to bring people up to speed with what it is, answer some questions that people clearly have, and maybe encourage some new projects once you know exactly what we're talking about. The Community Preservation Act serves four primary areas of local concern: open space preservation, historic preservation, affordable housing, and recreation. And the town's share of funding these projects is provided by the Community Preservation Fund. There are two sources of money for the local CPA fund, and the first one is the CPA surcharge, which is a 2% surcharge on property tax. If you pay $2,500 in property tax, you would pay $50 into the CPA fund. If you paid $3,500, you would pay $70 into the fund. The town average is $50. In truth, the real average is lower than that in terms of what most Westport householders pay. They pay less. The average is at $50 because some people, a few, pay quite a bit more than $50. The other source of funding is from the state in matching funds. Fees are charged at the Registry of Deeds, and some of those fees are dedicated to the Community Preservation Act, and they go into the state CPA fund, and annually there's a distribution to CPA towns. Westport is one of those towns, and we have been so since the very early days of CPA, and because of that we've benefited greatly from that money, and the state matching funds have boosted our local CPA fund significantly. And the other good news about the CPA money from the state is that it is dedicated to CPA. It cannot be touched for any other projects, as much as many legislators would like to see that happen. It is only for CPA, and it will always only be for CPA. And the good thing about having this pot of money in our Community Preservation Fund is it attracts partnerships to make some really good things happen in town with very little investment by the town. Two of our biggest partners are the Trustees of Reservations and the Westport Land Trust. We've saved a lot of open space and farmland in Westport because the Land Trust and the Trustees of Reservations have identified projects that they thought were worthy. They've raised a lot of money to support these projects, and they've asked the town to partner with them and make a contribution from the Community Preservation Fund, and we've done that in many cases and saved a lot of land. The University of Massachusetts is a partner with us and is right now working on the Estuaries project, helping to hopefully clean up the river. Diamond Regional Vocational Technical High School has helped us on building projects, on both town buildings and private projects in town that have qualified for CPA funding. If you have a historic building in town and it is on the Register of Historic Buildings in town, it qualifies for historic preservation money from the CPA. Federal and state agencies have partnered with us, as have the Army Corps of Engineers. The Community Preservation Act serves those things that define a community and make it unique. They include the landscape. Development pressure threatens our fragile landscape, and CPA provides funding that saves acres of land, preserves farming, and cleans up our river. Historic preservation is a really important one. Our historic resources in Westport need our support, and they will disappear without it. And you need to have concerted effort, and you need money for these things. And the CPA provides that money and encourages the effort. The Oscar Palmer Farm, is the one pictured here, is an example of a CPA project in historic preservation. This is a spectacular example of early American farming in Westport. The Trustees of Reservations went after this and asked for the town to participate as partners, which we did, and the property was purchased and is being restored, and a farmer is going to be living in the house and working the land, and it's really a great example of CPA at work. People. define the town's character, and CPA strives to honor those people, both past and present, by preserving the town and keeping it an affordable place to live. And here's an example of a few of the projects that we've done in the past. The dredging project, one of the most expensive ones we've worked on. We dredged around the town docks for the commercial fishing boats, and we dredged the channel and the harbor so that boats could get in and out. It benefited both the commercial fishing fleet as well as recreational boaters, and it's really been an important project. Cost a lot of money. Of that $1 million+ that it cost, out of the Community Preservation Fund in Westport, we spent $47,500 that represents money that taxpayers put into that fund. State match and other sources produced the rest of the money. The American Legion Hall on Sanford Road is a private building, historic private building, and it qualified for CPA funding. And we did a historic preservation project on it. The total cost was $42,000. The town's share, $21,000. The Wood Farm on Adamsville Road, open space preservation. This was an acquisition of land. The Land Trust and Trustees of Reservations identified this as an important project. They raised a lot of money to buy it, over $1 million, and included in what they raised was a match from the town of $130,000. That was a pretty good bargain, and it was sold to a local young man who wanted to farm in Westport. He grew up in the town, went to the high school, and he's now farming it. He has a farm stand on Adamsville Road, and it's one of the great things in Westport. The Santos Farm acquisition. This was an open space and recreation project. A local landowner in Westport owned a significant parcel of land that was between Route 177 and the high school, and it was contiguous with land owned by the high school, fairly large parcel, and he was interested in doing something for the town, and through the efforts of the Westport Youth Athletic Association, a project submission was put into the Community Preservation Committee to consider buying this land. And their idea was to rent the land from the town and then put together a plan to build soccer fields and baseball fields and softball fields and make a sports complex that will fill in a very gaping need in Westport for more recreational fields for our children to play in. And that proposal was put before CPC. The CPC recommended it, thought it was a great idea, took it to town meeting. Town meeting voted to support it. The total cost of the project was $750,000, and the town's share was $250,000. Really a great example of community preservation money doing good work for the town. The Historic Cemetery Preservation Project. This was a really impressive project. It was done mostly with volunteers. There was some costs, around $8,000 to get it done. The town's share of that was $3,000. We had people go out in the field. They cataloged town cemeteries throughout the town. This first project did not include the two major cemeteries in town. It was mainly on the smaller ones, particularly ones that were obscure and hidden off the roadway back in the woods. They trudged through brambles and briars and found these old cemeteries. They mapped them with a GPS. They cataloged the interred in those cemeteries where it was possible, and they built a map, and then they built a website. And on the website you can search and find people interred in different cemeteries and see a map of where they are. Really a fabulous example of CPC money being used for public interest and for a really good cause. Not only helps and is interesting to the citizens of Westport, it helps town boards, particularly boards like the planning board, when they're looking at development projects. They can make sure that cemeteries that might be on that site are taken care of and paid attention to. Town building preservation. We have 3 buildings in town that have enjoyed CPA funding. The Town Hall Annex used to be the Milton E. Earl School, and the Senior Center, all on the historic list in Westport, and all needing some help, and they qualified for it under the CPA. And talk about relieving some of the strain on the town budget. We spent over $250,000 on these projects. There's more projects coming. Our share of that was about half. Really, really beneficial use to everyone in town from the CPA. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund. This is a big CPC project. The town of Westport's always had difficulty in past years trying to be proactive about creating affordable housing. And since CPA came to town, we're finally able to do some really good things. We've had an active group in our Affordable Housing Trust, and they've created an office in the town hall. We have a part-time director. They have some fabulous programs that they're now running, and hopefully we're going to be creating some good affordable housing opportunities in Westport. Significant money from community preservation went into this, but that is one of the cornerstones of CPA, and the town is finally really doing some proactive stuff to create affordable housing in Westport. The Community Preservation Act supports projects that the town isn't able to fund from the general fund. And projects that get CPA funding are those that serve the public interest. This is an important distinction. If it doesn't serve the public interest, it doesn't get considered. Applications for projects come from town boards and committees, non-profits, and private citizens. Anyone with a good idea can submit an application to the Westport Community Preservation Committee. Applications are reviewed by the CPC. Public hearings are held to discuss recommended projects. Projects recommended by the CPC are then presented at the annual town meeting for consideration. Many beneficial projects have been funded by the CPA. There are many more potential projects in Westport that with CPA funding could serve to preserve the town we love and support town services that are underfunded due to budget constraints. Project submission forms may be downloaded on the CPC page of the town website. Just go to cpc.westport-ma.com and you'll get to that page, and you'll see that there are forms that you can download either in PDF or Word format. You can download guidelines for submission of projects to the CPC, and you can download the project submission forms. If you do it in Word format, you can fill it out on your computer, or you can just print it up in PDF and fill it out by hand. If you need more help filling out a submission form, feel free to call any member of the Community Preservation Committee. We'd be happy to help you out, or you could come to one of our meetings and we could help you there. The Community Preservation Act was created to meet an urgent need in Massachusetts communities. Towns like Westport that were seeing historic resources disappear, seeing open space filled up with housing, people not being able to afford to live in town because there were so few affordable housing opportunities, and recreational facilities having a hard time being maintained. The money just isn't there when you have such tight budgets. CPA serves those needs. Worthy projects really can use that funding, and you could seize that opportunity now and put an application in if you think there's something you know about that could be served by the CPA. Thank you for listening and watching this video. We hope it's been helpful. doesn't serve the public interest, it doesn't get considered. Applications for projects come from town boards and committees, non-profits, and private citizens. Anyone with a good idea can submit an application to the Westport Community Preservation Committee. Applications are reviewed by the CPC. Public hearings are held to discuss recommended projects. Projects recommended by the CPC are then presented at the annual town meeting for consideration. Many beneficial projects have been funded by the CPA. There are many more potential projects in Westport that with CPA funding could serve to preserve the town we love and support town services that are underfunded due to budget constraints. Project submission forms may be downloaded on the CPC page of the town website. Just go to cpc.westport-ma.com and you'll get to that page, and you'll see that there are forms that you can download either in PDF or Word format. You can download guidelines for submission of projects to the CPC, and you can download the project submission forms. If you do it in Word format, you can fill it out on your computer, or you can just print it up in PDF and fill it out by hand. The Community Preservation Act was created to meet an urgent need in Massachusetts communities. Towns like Westport that were seeing historic resources disappear, seeing open space filled up with housing, people not being able to afford to live in town because there were so few affordable housing opportunities, and recreational facilities having a hard time being maintained. The money just isn't there when you have such tight budgets. CPA serves those needs. Worthy projects really can use that funding, and you could seize that opportunity now and put an application in if you think there's something you know about that could be served by the CPA. Thank you for listening and watching this video. We hope it's been helpful.